Welcome to this week's episode of Those Two Guys Talk Disney. I'm Justin Vaughn, joined again by Jay Gibson.
Holla.
I think that one's even better, Jay. Alright, so this is actually our second time trying to record this because our last one just ended our audio completely, and it wouldn't let me skip ahead to figure out where we were at, so I could just kind of cut in there. So, alright, in this week's episode, we're going to talk about Holes. Thoughts on this movie? Again, gotta go through it.
Man, I really enjoyed this movie. Like I said, I've read the book as well. I read it in school, and like I said, I can't remember. I don't think it was a read that I had to do. I think it was just the one I did for fun. I just read it for fun or whatever in my spare time. But I remember reading it in school.
And see that's awesome. See, I don't remember reading any books for fun. I mean, I later did, but not like in school. I have not read this book. I've only seen this movie, but I've seen this movie a ton.
Yeah, I've watched it a lot.
And I really like the songs in the movie. And it's actually kind of a cool story.
Dig a hole.
It really is.
Dig a hole.
Dig. Alright, so you got the synopsis.
A boy is wrongfully sent to a brutal camp where a camp warden and her staff force the children in their care to mysteriously dig holes all day long in the desert. The rehabilitation. Sorry, I shortened it for myself there. Is questioned as they think something sinister is involved. I wrote it shorthand. I just wrote rehab because I knew what the word was, and then yeah.
All right, the release date on this is April 11th to April 18th.
Yeah, somewhere between.
We're not
18th
sure
and 11th.
which day it is, so somewhere in there.
It gives you like two different days for it when you look it up. So. And actually, it's based on the 1998 novel written by Lewis Carr or something like that. I can't remember. I can't look at my reading. My handwriting there. It's Sachar. Sakar. I guess that's Sachar.
Sure, let's go with that.
Not sure how you pronounce it. Terrible at pronouncing the name.
The budget for this movie was $17 million.
And they made $71.4 million in the box office.
Which, not a bad return. Like we said in our first attempt at this, that was actually probably mostly the cast budget, because it actually has a decent-sized cast.
Yeah.
And quite a few known cast members.
Like Shia LaBeouf.
Who plays Stanley Yelnats the Fourth.
Yeah.
/ Caveman. That's his camp name.
Yeah.
Cleo Thompson as Zero, or Hector Zeroni. Brendan Jefferson as X-Ray. Sigourney Weaver as the Warden.
Warden Walker.
John Voight as Mr. Sir.
Or Marion.
Yeah. Marion Civillo.
Yeah.
Tim Blake Nelson as Dr. Pendenski. Hey, you know what other movie he was in? Ironically, another lockup movie.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, brother, where art thou?
Yeah. Jake M. Smith as Squid. Brian Cotton as Theodore Thomas, or Armpits. Or Armpit, not Armpits, my bad.
Miguel Castro as Magnet. Max Cash as Zigzag. Noah Politek as Twitch, which you don't really see him much either.
And then Zane Holt as Barfbag, but like I said, you only see him for like
just the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, see him long enough for him to take his sock and shoe off and let the rattlesnake bite his toe, and then that's that.
Steve Koslowski as Lump. Siobhan Fallen Hogan as Tiffany Yelnats.
Henry Winkler as Stanley Yelnats III. Also, people may know him as the Fonz.
Nathan Davis as Stanley Yelnats Jr. I don't really care about the landlord.
And you got Rick Fox as Clyde Sweet Feet Livingston.
Nicole Pulliam as Sweet Feet's wife. which we don't really see a lot of her.
Eartha Kitt as Madame Zeroni. I don't know why I just said it like that.
Honestly, dude, she actually makes a really good psychic.
I was gonna say, what do they call it? A witch doctor, or
Yeah.
whatever they call them down in the bayou. Which remind me of.
Damien Luvara as Elia Yelnats. Sonia, whatever, as Myra Minky. Alright, we gotta get down here.
You got Dole Hill as Sam, which is also known as Burton Guster from Psych, for anybody out there that watches Psych.
Patricia Arquette as Kissing Kate Barlow.
Yep.
Scott Plank as Trout Walker.
And there's a lot of other ones too, other actors and actresses in here.
Yeah. We're not actually going to read the whole list of cast. That's
There's
a
a
long
lot.
list. We wanted to really name the boys because that's who mainly you see.
And some of the ones that were more known characters that you might recognize from other stuff.
Production. Let me see.
It's also got a 78% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Nice.
So
that's a really good rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, overall, this is actually a really good movie.
I really enjoy it.
And truth is, it was filmed in California over 10 weeks in the summer of 2002 on a $20 million budget. When looking for a child actor to play Stanley, Davis asked for an actor like a young Tom Hanks, and Shia LaBeouf was cast. In the original book, Stanley is depicted as obese, shedding considerable weight as the book progresses. The filmmakers choose to drop this aspect from the movie as they believed it would have been difficult to convincingly portray the weight loss in a live-action film.
That's
to be fair,
true.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
It wasn't needed.
Right.
The film was shot in several locations, including Ridgecrest, California. LaBeouf was simultaneously doing work for the Disney Channel show Even Stevens and worked on the film. After taping Even Stevens, to show the 7 kids' holes being dug gradually throughout the day. Different phases were used for each of which the 7 holes were given different levels for depth. For the yellow-spotted lizards, 14 bearded dragons were used, 4 of which were used for the main parts, and the rest used as background atmosphere lizards.
The film is dedicated to Scott Plank, who appears in the film and died 6 months before its release.
Damn.
And I knew those were I knew the spotted lizards were bearded dragons. Now, when I first watched the movie, I didn't know that. I didn't know what the heck a bearded dragon was.
All right.
I really didn't know a whole lot about reptiles back then.
Yeah, I didn't either.
But now I follow the guy is now passed because he had cancer, prostate cancer. And Brian Barczyk, real big reptile guy, has his own reptarium place, and then they're opening a new one, Legacy Reptarium. But I follow him a lot, and I learned a lot about different reptiles through him, through watching that.
Huh. I didn't know that either. For the music of this includes Grammy-winning single "Just Like You."
By Kid Mo and Dr. Dre and Mike Elizondo produced "Dig It"
by the D-Tent Boys, the actors portraying the D-Tent group inmates,
right.
Which included a video that was played regularly on the Disney Channel.
Wow, that's cool.
That was cool. I didn't know Dr. Dre produced that.
I didn't either.
Dig it up. Cool. Dig it. Digging up.
That's pretty cool, though. It's awesome.
All right. Time to move on to the movie. All right. In Green Lake, Texas, the Yelnats family has been cursed to be unlucky, which they blame on their ancestor, Ilya's failure to keep a promise to a fortune teller, Madame Zeroni, over a century earlier, and Latvia. One day, Stanley Yelnats IV is wrongfully convicted of stealing a pair of sneakers donated to charity by baseball player Clyde Sweetfeet Livingston. Okay, so it actually does show him just walking. It doesn't actually get into the family curse just right off the bat like it said there.
It shows him walking.
It shows him walking and actually being hit in the head by a pair of shoes. By a pair of cleats.
Yeah, cleats nonetheless. Could not have felt too good.
Knocks him over, like, wrong place, wrong time kind of thing.
And then he looks up and that's when you realize it's kind of down below like a bridge or whatever you want to call it.
Well, then it shows he's being stopped by the cops and he's being arrested, taken home. They're taking pictures of his room. His grandpa just won't shut up. Just keeps going and going and going and going and going and going. While the whole time their landlord's complaining because the whole floor smells like feet.
Stinky feet.
Because you find out his dad's an inventor trying to cure foot stink.
Of all things.
Hey, to be fair, dude, I mean...
Oh, no, trust me. I know about stink feet, bro.
I know.
When I was younger, I had terrible stinky feet. Luckily, I grew out of that. But my feet were unbearable. It was bad.
Well, then when he goes to court, you don't quite realize that he is the Force by then. Until they're really in court. And he stands up and the judge says Stanley Yelnats. And all three of them stand up. He goes, the fourth. But before he actually goes to court, they actually talk to him about the curse on the family. And the curse starts from his great-great-grandpa making a deal.
Like working on I guess he's working on a farm.
I'm assuming it's some kind of farm.
And the guy's he's the guy's daughter and wants to date her.
Falls in love with her immediately, on sight.
But he's already offering her to this other guy because this guy's offering his best pig.
So he goes talk to Madame Zeroni, who is a psychic. Or medium, however you want to put it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And she tells him, take the little one. Take it up the mountain. Sing to it while it drinks from the stream. If only the woodpecker's size. The bark on the tree was as soft as the sky. The wolf waits below, lonely and hungry. He howls to the moon, if only. I actually, that's a poem I actually remember from that movie. So he does exactly what she says, but she said after he gives the pig to...
The pig will grow big and fit.
And he will grow big and strong.
Yeah.
After he gives the pig to Mankey, come back and carry Madame Zeroni up the mountain so she can drink and she can get strong too. But before she actually agrees to this, she tells him, go to America. That's what her son's doing. Go to America. And he wouldn't do it.
She said, but if you do not return and carry Madame Zeroni up the hill, your family will be cursed for always and eternity. The way she says it. I just like the way she says it.
But then you see, then it like flashes to where they're in court, and they all three of the guys stand up. He says the fourth, the other two sit down, and then he actually offers him jail time or Camp Green Lake. And he said, well, I've never been to camp before. He said, 18 months Camp Green Lake. It is not the kind of camp you want to go to.
He did not know he was getting into.
The whole point of you get to as they're driving to the camp, you just see a bunch of holes
And just desert as far as I can see.
There's just a bunch of holes. That's all you see. It's just a bunch of holes. And you get in there and...
my thing is, like you said, they're driving out there, you see all these holes. You're telling me they've dug all that many holes and they ain't found a thing?
Yeah.
Like, how? That many holes had to have found something. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's a lot of holes out there. You're like, there's no way you didn't find anything.
So they continue into what was the original town is now basically, their setup.
The camp, yep.
And they drive to Mr. Sir's office. And he kind of goes out of his way to, I don't want to cuss, but to be a dick. Like, he goes way out of his way to be that way. He didn't need to be. He just chooses to be that way. But they go to his office. He actually tells them, you're going to be thirsty for the next 18 months. Takes him, like, kind of explains the situation.
Well, he goes to grab a Coke out of the fridge to hand it to the...
Yeah. The guard.
Guard or whatever that drove him out there. And Stanley goes to grab for it, and he's like, what are you doing? That's not for you.
He said, you thirsty?
Thirsty, boy? Good, you're going to be thirsty for...
The next 18 months.
18 months.
And he walks him around. He actually explains basically what he's there to do. You dig a hole every day. 5 foot deep, 5 foot in diameter. Your shovel is your measuring stick.
Yep.
So then he kind of doesn't really introduce him to anybody, but he just kind of sets him up. Like, goes into that room, tells him take off his shoes, try them on. He tries on a pair of boots. He shows him you get 2 pairs of work clothes. After a week,
2 pairs of clothes, your work clothes. 1 pair is your work clothes. The other pair is your
relax
pair. Once your work pair gets
every week, your work pair gets washed, and your
relax pair becomes your work pair.
So they got to wear the same clothes for a week straight.
Well, basically, pretty much the entire time they're there.
Yeah,
like,
that's
gross.
They
They got like 2 outfits. That's it. They're wearing the same 2 things the entire time. I mean, they get a shower, but it's all cold water. You don't get a hot shower.
You're in the desert, man. I'm sure you're cool with the cold shower in the desert.
But at nighttime in the desert, though, it cools off. A lot of times, it's so cold water, you're gonna be pretty.
I had water drip on my notebook from my bottle. But then Dr. Pendinsky comes in and tells Stanley, you might have made bad choices. That does not make you a bad kid. So then Mr. Sir tells the other kid, set him up with everything, and then...
Well, at one point in time, Mr. Sir's walking around and Stanley sees a gun on his hip. He's like, oh, don't worry, that's not for you.
That's for yellow spotted lizards. And then Dr. Pendinsky introduces him to Detent, where he'll be rooming, makes Armpit his mentor, but he doesn't call him Armpit, he calls him Theodore.
Calls him by his birth name.
His government name.
He's like, I'm not Theodore anymore, I'm Armpit.
And then Armpit actually shows him where he's going to be sleeping and stuff.
Make your bed. And it looks gross.
Yeah.
The bed's like all stained. It looks nasty.
Well, they don't really give him a whole lot of stuff either.
No.
Get a pair of worn work boots.
Pair of work boots.
2 pairs of clothes.
2 orange jumpsuits and t-shirt, I think. They were underneath them. My question is, what about underwear? Do they only have like 2 pair of underwear?
You're right.
Like, because it never ever says anything about the underwear. Like, that'd be pretty gross if they literally...
Or the socks.
Yeah. Like, that'd be pretty gross if they literally had to wear 1 pair of underwear and 1 pair of socks like a week straight before switching to another pair. Like, oh god.
I'd be washing them by hand. Screw that, man.
Terrible.
But then he actually calls Armpit Theodore, and Armpit like grabs him and then throws him on the ground and then tells him where he can fill up his canteen, which is just a milk jug.
That actually says
barf bag.
Barf bag on it with barf bags, water canteen.
And you actually start seeing all these kids' canteens are like different styles of plastic jugs. That's all they are, with ropes tied on them. And then he goes in to get food, which looks gross.
Yeah.
Like chili and garbanzo beans.
He's fresh meat, so of course, all the other guys kind of like...
They kind of pick on him a
Trying to
little bit.
try to take advantage of him.
And it's the first time that Zero talks? Like, none of them's ever heard Zero talk?
Like, X-Ray tells him the one time when they're digging, he's like, if you find anything, you give it to me. He's like, because you just got here, so it wouldn't be fair if you got a day off. You just got here and the rest of us have been here for this long digging, right?
After he steals his bread.
Yeah.
At his very first meal.
He's like, you don't need the bread, do you? Somebody else has, do you? It's just like what the fuck? What's going on here? I'm talking about some hazing.
Well, then, that's when, though, as it progresses, you find out he does actually get a nickname.
Yeah.
They just call him Caveman.
Well,
but it's X-Ray that calls him a Neanderthal at the beginning of when he gets there.
They're like, in like, I guess what you call it, a rec room, I guess.
Yeah.
And he like trips and falls on that one dude's lap, and dude starts to attack him. And they like, all of them like jump in. And they're like, and I guess X-Ray's like, nobody messes with Caveman. And he's like, who's Caveman?
He goes, I don't want to mess with anybody. And they're like, all right, come on, Caveman, come on.
He's like, I'm Caveman.
And Zero goes, better than Barf Bag.
And that's when he got the nickname. And after that, they're all like pretty cool with him after that. They don't really.
But you also see like Dr. Peninsky, like they're talking about, he calls everybody by their actual government name except for Zero. Even he calls 00.
Yeah.
And
what was it they were talking about that he got Zero to talk?
You were asking what Zero likes to do.
Yeah, we were talking about what people like to do.
And like they were like, Zero don't talk to anybody but Caveman. And then he looks over at Stanley, and Stanley goes, just nods his head. That's all he does. So he goes, I like digging holes.
That's right. I was like, I'm trying to remember. I was like,
then you actually find out Zero's the fastest kid in the camp at digging holes. He's also one of the smallest kids.
Yeah. It was funny because he was like, I like digging holes. And they're like, whoa, you got Zero to talk.
Well, when they actually did whoa, you got Zero to talk was the first, Stanley's first meal. They're asking Stanley what he got arrested for. And he said, for stealing a pair of Clive Livingston shoes.
Yeah. And
Zero goes, with red X's? Because Zero knows.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the first time they'd ever heard him talk.
They're like, whoa.
He doesn't talk to anybody.
No. He just sticks to his own business.
Then you find out he can't read.
Like, he pretty much just minds his own business. He doesn't. He just does what he's supposed to do.
But he found out he just enjoyed digging holes.
Does it ever explain why he's there?
He ends up stealing a pair of shoes from Payless that following week. So
I thought it was
because he was awarded this because he didn't have a family. His trial went way faster than what Stanley's did.
I thought it was something that kind of tied into which we'll get to, but I couldn't remember. Like I said, I kind of dozed off this morning. And like, man.
But like you find out Zero can't actually read.
Yeah.
Because Stanley was reading a note from his mom. And, Hector was just kind of there.
Yeah, because he starts laughing, and Hector's like, what are you laughing about?
And Stanley actually reads what he was laughing about.
And he told him what his mom said. Something, I can't remember what it was now.
Something about the old lady living in the shoe.
Yeah. She's like, the old lady living in the shoe, it must have really smelled bad or something like that.
Because she understood the old lady that lived in the shoe.
Yeah.
But then, that's when Zero admits he can't read.
And
asks Stanley to teach him to read.
Stanley's like, I'm really uncomfortable with you reading over my shoulder like that. And he's like, I can't read.
Well, then when he asked Stanley about teaching him to read, Stanley goes, "No, man, I'm tired after digging holes all day, and I just want to chill after I get done." So then he walks out and goes hangs out with everybody else. Well, then that next day, one of the guys steal Mr. Sir's bag of sunflower seeds, and when they toss it to Stanley drops it and spills some,
everywhere.
and then Mr. Sir comes back, so Stanley tries to bury it. And Mr. Sir pulls it out and then takes Stanley to the warden's office. And she messes Mr. Sir up pretty good.
Yeah, she's like, she's just kind of like, you really brought him here because they took your sunflower seeds? She's like, what? She's like, really? Because I heard that wasn't that important, so she was like...
But before that, Stanley actually does find something when he's digging. He actually finds a little
looks
tube.
like a bullet.
Yeah. And it says KB on it.
Yep.
First, he actually finds the fossil, and then he's like, "Oh, so there really was."
Oh, and that's when.
So then, that's when it flashes over to.
Actually, it's like that was a real cute stunt you pulled there, and that's when he tells him if you find anything, give it to me. But then, yeah.
But then it flashes over to where it's actually tells about the town that was there, and you actually find out. You meet Miss Catherine, the teacher.
That's when it starts giving you the backstory into kissing Kate Barlow.
Yeah. And Sam. And Sam selling onions with his donkey, Miss Mary Lou.
And Sam even mentions the fact that his onions keep the
yellow spotted lizards away.
Yep.
They don't like his onion juice.
Yep.
Because miners pull up and they're like, I don't care how much gold's in them hills, I'm not going back there without some lizard juice.
He also is a handyman.
Yeah, he's just really handy. Tells her I could fix that roof, and he fixes the roof for her. Then she said her and the kids would like a breeze every once in a while. He goes, I can fix that. And then fixes the window.
And I'm pretty sure he fixes something on the door, too.
The door doesn't hang quite right, so he fixes the door.
I can fix that. And then he comes in the one time he's there, and she's crying about something.
And he kisses her.
And starts rubbing her cheek, and he's like, I can fix that. That's what I was waiting for anyway. Well, I can fix that. But then the other guy, the jerk of that time period or whatever.
Now, you know what, dude? I even said his name. Because he's a walker. Because his dad owned Trout Walker.
Yeah. Sees Sam and Kate kissing, so then he gets real keyed off.
Because he wants to be with Kate.
Yeah. And she won't give him the time of day. She don't want nothing to do with him.
So then the sheriff tries to force her to kiss him.
Because he's a jerk. She doesn't want,
And she goes, you're drunk. He goes, I always get drunk before hanging. And you see him actually...
And then she's like, well, then you can hang me too, because I kissed him back.
He says, it's not illegal for you to kiss him. It's illegal for him to kiss you. What?
Yeah. Then she takes off and goes running to find Sam, and she see him out there in a boat.
Just rowing away.
And you see another boat rolling up, and you see the gun come up, and she's yelling, Sam! Get a gunshot, and you see him just kind of fall over in the boat.
And then you see they shot his donkey,
yeah.
Burned his little, burned down the schoolhouse, burned up his wagon. Like, why did the animal need to die?
Yeah.
That was BS. But then you find out she becomes Kissing Kate Barlow, who robs everything.
She goes in, kills the sheriff.
Yeah. Kisses him on the forehead.
Goes on a little bit of a killing spree and a robbing spree before she finally meets her end.
By her own choice.
Yeah.
After a while, she winds up going. She finds Sam's boat. She's sitting up against it, and Trout Walker actually walks up, married to one of her old students.
Yeah.
Which means when he married her, she was a child. Creeper. But they're looking for Kate's money. Kate says, you can dig and dig, you'll never find it. You can dig for the next 100 years, you're never going to find it.
Yeah.
Which explains what they're actually looking for. And then he's threatening to rape her and stuff. He didn't actually say he's going to rape her, but, kind of hinted towards it.
Yeah.
And she grabs a yellow spotted lizard and then just lets it bite her.
Yep.
And that's the end of Kissing Kate Barlow. But then you find out it hasn't rained since they killed Sam. I don't know how many years had gone by, but that is crazy to think it hadn't rained a drop since then.
Yeah.
So all his money, all the water dried up, with the lake dried up, his money dried up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But after...
Makes you wonder, after they did all that, like, after they burned the schoolhouse and everything, did the trash, all that stuff, everything dried up, did everybody else just leave that town after that?
I would assume.
And go somewhere else? Instead of rebuilding the schoolhouse and whatnot? I mean, don't rain, everything dried up, they can't grow nothing, so I mean, I would guess they would have had to have went somewhere that had rain or, where they could grow crops. But when they're back at the warden's place, she's talking to Stanley about her nail polish and how she puts venom in it or whatever.
Rattlesnake venom.
Yeah, rattlesnake venom in her nail polish. And
how after it dries, it's nothing, no harm in it.
When it's still wet, and then she scratches Sir or whatever in the face.
But when he comes back, his hole's already dug. And he's thinking everybody around, they're like, we didn't do it, Zero did it. And you actually see Zero's hole's almost done too. Everybody else is only about halfway. It was Zero got out of his hole, dug Caveman's hole, jumped back in his hole.
He was a fastest digger, man. Crazy.
And then he actually offers to dig part of Stanley's hole every day if he teaches him how to read. So he does. And then Peninsky, one of them picks a fight with Stanley and, Zero, attacks, and Zero was messing him up.
Yeah.
And so the warden comes out. Warden comes and deals with that situation. And they actually, while Peninsky's just running Zero down, just talking crap about Zero. Zero just whacks him in the face with a shovel. Tells him, because he goes, what's DIG spell? He's so stupid, he doesn't know he's stupid. Zero hits him in the face, and he goes, dig, and he takes off running with his shovel.
When do they steal the truck and drive it in a hole?
That's that's what you meet Twitch.
Yeah.
After they destroy Zero's file, because they don't want anybody coming to look for him, because they're not reporting that he ran away. Then they then after Twitch comes, so it's probably been a few days at least, Twitch basically tells Stanley how to steal his truck, and Stanley's going to drive the water truck out to get Zero, which would have been really smart. Been even smarter if he'd been smart enough to fill his canteen first.
Well, it'd been even smarter if he would have taken consideration of all the dang holes.
Yeah, and not turn around. But at least fill his canteen first. But he crashes the truck in the hole. Gets out and he takes off running. He finds the sunflower seed bag. And he ends up finding Zero in the boat where Kissing Kate Barlow died. And
In the same boat.
then Zero asks him if he wants some splooge.
Yeah, he called it sploosh.
And he goes, what's that? He goes, come here. And he breaks open the jar. You realize how long them peaches been sitting there?
A long time. There's no way that could have been good.
No way that could have been good.
I mean, they weren't even orange anymore, dude. They were like black.
Yeah.
There's no way.
I mean, unless it fermented, but man, that's a long time.
It had been at least a good, 100 years or better? Or
now, yeah, it was a long time. I'd say at least 50.
Like, my man. Oof.
But come find out, it's the spiced peaches from that Kate was making for Sam. And then they decide to go to what they call God's Thumb. Because Zero asked Stanley, what's Maryllo?
Maryllo.
And he goes, what are you talking about? So he takes him back out, and he goes, oh, it's Mary Lou.
Name on the boat.
Sam's boat. And then he was sitting there talking to him, and he looked, he goes, what does that look like right there? And Zero goes. So they go up to God's Thumb. And they're talking about what's going to be on top there. And he said, oh, man, hot fudge sundae. He's running through all that stuff. Well, Zero actually gets hurt on their climb up.
So he ends up carrying him.
And once he gets up there and he drops Zero in the water. And he takes a drink of water. And then Zero gets down and starts drinking. Stanley actually starts singing the song. Well, in that process, ends their curse.
Yep.
But nobody understands why their curse is in it. It just ends their curse all of a sudden. And then they find out the onions are up there, and they're the sweetest onions they've ever eaten. So they're just eating
scarf with some
onions.
onions.
Which, to be fair, dude, if you haven't eaten in days, onions are going to taste like candy, dude. You're going to love them.
They ate sploosh.
Come on, man. But then Stanley decides, let's go dig one more hole.
Some really spiced, old spiced peaches and some onions. Good food.
So they decide to go dig one more hole. They go back to the hole that Stanley actually found the tube in it. Because Stanley comes over with it. Why is it that's a lipstick tube? And it stood for Kate Barlow.
Yep.
So they go back and they start digging. Well, then Zero goes, this is going to take too long. I got to go find another shovel. So he goes and finds another shovel. He comes back. By the time he comes back, he's already dug the hole deeper. Well, he goes, do you really think she would have buried her treasure this far down? So they start expanding the hole. And the moment they do, he hits the treasure box.
Yep.
And they dig it out. And that's when, like, they walk up and they catch him.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, yellow spotted lizards everywhere.
But none of them are biting them.
None of them, they're just sitting on them, covering them. So ain't none of them adults going down there and touching them because they want that part of
right
it.
before that scene, you actually get the scene where Stanley's lawyer shows up to get him because he's actually proven innocent. And, of course, he's not there.
Yeah.
So they're trying to, like, make it out like, you know, that she has to come back with a warrant, so she does the next day. He's not, you know, she lies and says he broke into her cabin and took off running and fell in a hole. Stole her chest.
Yeah.
And Zero goes, no, it's Stanley's. Stanley yelled Nance.
Well,
and
before
Stanley
that,
spelled backwards.
before that, he's like, Stanley, is your last name your first name spelled backwards? He's like, yeah. Stanley Yelnats.
That's pretty good, though. For a kid that he taught how to read.
Like, none of them were wanting to, like, touch him. And then Stanley jumps out of there.
Yeah, they finally just make him mad enough. He just climbs out.
The lizard's just going to climb off of him.
And...
Because he's like, no, that's not true. I didn't steal nothing from her. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, then it comes to find out that's Stanley's chest.
Of course, as he's climbing out and the lizards are running, they all backing up. They're like, oop.
Oh, yeah, they're trying to run from it. But it's Zero that points out that, that's Stanley's chest.
Yeah, 'cause she's like, see, look, in my chest. She's like, it's not yours. Stanley's.
So then the lawyer goes, no, we ain't doing that. Well, then come find out she has two marshals with her.
She's like, Stanley, come with me. He's like, I can't go anywhere without, I'm not going anywhere without Hector. Without Zero.
So then she asks for his case and
Wow.
file, and then, of course, they don't have it.
The word's like, go get the file for Hector Zeroni. Of course, the little doctor guy's like, there ain't no file on a Hector Zeroni.
Which means Zero can now come with them. And that's when everybody like comes out and they start asking like...
Oh, well, the one walks out and then you hear him run back, they're alive! They're alive!
Well, then Armpit actually asks the attorney, hey, do you got a pen and paper? And she goes, no, but it looks like he does.
And he's all trying to like hide behind his clipboard and stuff and like stay as far back as possible.
You know, all Armpit was doing was just writing down
Writing a lot of letters.
the number for his mom. Has Stanley call his mom, tell her that Armpit said he was sorry, or that Theodore said he was sorry.
And then as he starts bringing it up to hand it to him, the fucking or the cop or whatever was like, Marion. He's like, you're
From El Paso.
Yeah,
And it was a long time since El Paso.
And he voided his whatever. Wasn't he was
And then she tries to lie.
he was actually like on probation or something
Yep.
or whatever, and he wasn't supposed to be wherever he was at, and he revoked his probation or whatever.
Which puts him in handcuffs and set him down. And then she goes, I didn't know anything about that. He goes, yeah, like you didn't know Pendansky wasn't a doctor. So you find out he's not actually a doctor.
Yeah.
So then he gets all
They're
three
like,
of them.
put him over with the rest of them.
So all three of them get screwed.
And they're like, come on. And like, so Hector and Stanley and they're all getting ready to get the car, and all of a sudden, flash and boom, you hear thunder.
And it just
It
downpours.
starts raining, so all of them just run out in the middle of the rain, jumping and dancing around. Because it hadn't rained there in however
But
many years.
leaving, you know, they're like, D10, D10. But then you get them, like, you get the flashback once they get back home. And, like, they break open the chest. And they're looking in it, and he goes, before we open this, I think half this should go to
It's probably
Hector.
half this goes to Hector.
Then they start counting it. And it's
Well,
like,
it's like, they're like, a bond for $25,000? Like, there's no way, is that what that's worth? They're like, actually, no, it'd be worth more than that now, like millions.
yeah,
He's like,
And-
one for us, one for Mr. Hector Zeroni.
Mr. Zeroni, one
Well-
for us, one for Mr.
Well, when
Zeroni.
he first says something about his name being Zeroni, it's like Grandpa like gives him a hug and everything.
Well, then you find out that Hector took his money and he found his mom, who had actually been looking for him too, and she just she didn't know what happened to him, and come to find out they were both looking for each other, and it took him just getting that money to get enough money to have
But
a
then you
PI to
find out
find her.
that he's the great grandson of Madame Zeroni
Yeah. So Stanley ended the curse.
by carrying a Zeroni up the hill to the water
And
and
singing.
singing a song.
To get stronger. Well, then you come to find out they actually become their best friends. They
Become neighbors.
become neighbors. Like they have a pool in their backyard.
And-
The statue holding the shovel,
His dad finally creates something to cure stinky feet, and they call it
which
sploosh.
is how they got the money for the lawyer.
And they call it sploosh.
Yeah,
And then stinky feet,
Sweet Feet,
sweet feet ends up like being like the
the spokesperson for
or
it.
whatever.
So it all just kind of turned around, and then the kids that are there, is everyone from D-Tent.
And we completely missed the fact that you do eventually find out that Hector's actually the person that stole Sweet Feet's shoes.
Yeah, because Hector ends up admitting to it
From the
when they're up on the mountain, up on God's thumb,
he stole them from the
from the orphanage.
orphanage or whatever, and then as he was running from the cops or whatever, he threw him over the bridge to get rid of them, and just happened to land on Stanley.
And then Stanley's not even upset about it. He goes, "It's fate."
Basically, like they were meant to meet apparently. In order to break his family's curse and to help him find his mom. So
Yeah.
it all worked out.
So it ends up working out great for him.
And he taught him to read, so you know.
The movie, when the movie actually ends, they're best friends that live right next door to each other.
Got nice houses.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, the statue just holding the
Dude, they're
shovel.
both rich, man.
Like, the statue holding the shovel.
Not even counting what their dad actually made from the sale of
Yeah.
Sploosh. Just from what they found in that. Dude, you're not going to tell me them two didn't live comfortably the rest of their
Oh,
lives.
yeah.
Because it was exactly what they needed.
Was it just a statue or was it a fountain?
I think it might have been a
I
fountain.
think it was a fountain. The statue of the fountain was holding the
Then you
shovel.
come to find then you find out too that Camp Green Lake is now a Girl Scout camp, and it's cool as long as the girls remember to eat onions.
And it's funny too because it's not even like a nice golden shovel or anything. Like it just looks like
It's
an
just a
old
regular shovel.
It's like an old shovel from the camp.
Honestly, it's probably because it is from the camp.
Probably.
It's probably the shovel he stole when he took off.
When Zero runs off with a shovel,
Yeah.
holding the shovel. Maybe he took the shovel so he had a weapon so he could fight off the lizards, any lizards that come at him or something.
Honestly, I don't even think you've even thought of that, man. He just took off with the shovel.
Oh. He liked digging holes, man. He wanted to keep the shovel so he could dig holes.
I wonder if he still digs holes. Like, if he just got a spot out back, he just dig holes.
I don't know. But who said that? I like digging holes. Okay.
He does actually seem to really like digging holes, though. He's really fast at it.
You need a hole, Doug. Call Zero. Call Hector. Dig it out for you real quick. He can dig you a 5 foot deep, 5 foot diameter hole in a matter of.
To be fair, dude, he could probably dig you a 6 foot hole. But, for a grave, he could probably do it, man.
Well, I'm just saying, that, he dug on a 5 foot deep, 5 foot diameter hole. He got those down. He can do those in a matter of minutes. It's like even deeper than that and bigger around, probably just as quick.
All right, so that's the end of our movie. Let us know what you think of that. Our next topic is going to cover the Thanksgiving Promise, which we had to watch on YouTube. It's actually a Disney Sunday movie that aired on ABC. But that's going to be our next movie, and we'll see you guys next week.
Get on the side.